Welcome to a race recap of the Commerce Stage Race. This footage is from the Criterium. It's on CJ Burford's bike. I'm just in front of him. David Davenport's to the left. We have another teammate, Nico Salazar Garcia. It makes a total of 4 of us in this stage race. Go ahead and press play here. If you need any coaching, come visit us at Velociusport.com. Any lawyering, Crumley Roberts. You can see the rest of our fantastic sponsors on the screen here. The stage race started with a 7-mile, 84-mile total road race. So we did 12 laps of the 7-mile course, followed by a time trial on the same course, and then a 4-corner criterium. This criterium was approached more like a 3-corner criterium because the first corner, as you'll see, is closer to a U-turn. This is the first corner in the video here. We approached the road race with the intent of keeping me out of the wind as much as possible for the first half of the race. So we were going to send CJ, David, and Nico into as many breakaways as necessary. Early in the race, about 7 miles in, was very aggressive, and a group of 2, Willem Kaiser and Brendan Hauser, got off the front. They got a pretty good gap on the field. We deemed it was a pretty threatening attack, and then we decided to send David or Nico into a bridge attempt. They got to the front and weren't quite able to find a good spot to bridge. We came through 10 miles into the race, so second lap, and I had some momentum, so I attacked over the group, and I was able to get about halfway up to their breakaway. The group started reeling me back in, and then Matt Guevara attacked the group, got up to me, and we worked together and were able to get into the breakaway with Hausler and Willem Kaiser. We worked together for probably 2 or 3 laps. Then Willem was dropped, and it was the 3 of us to come through the finish. We got a pretty good gap on everybody. We started attacking each other with about 2 laps to go. Mainly Brendan Hauser was attacking us. Luckily, I was on his wheel for the first attack. We dropped Matt Guevara, and then he attacked me, and I wasn't able to get on his wheel. So we came to the finish, split apart. Brendan Hauser had a minute on me, and then I had about 30 seconds to 20 seconds on Matt Guevara. Hauser didn't do the rest of the stage race, so that meant that I was in the overall lead, and I had 20 seconds on Guevara. Coming to the time trial, my goal was to keep that 20 seconds. My legs were pretty sore from how long we were off the front in the road race, and I was able to keep that 20 seconds, mainly due to the fact that Guevara actually had an incident with some cars where he got pushed into a pothole in the last lap, so I was able to gain about 6 to 10 seconds on him through the time trial. Coming into the crit here, I had about 30 seconds on him, so we had to make sure he didn't get any of the point or the time bonuses or get a 30-second gap on us. Watching him, we kept his group from getting away. It ended up Artem Schmidt and Ty Magner attacked fairly early in the race, and they were able to get a good gap. The group actually had a concerted effort to try and bring them back, but over time that effort dwindled and they were able to lap the field. So they came back into the field and stayed there for a little bit. We came into this crit just trying to protect my overall lead. We're watching Matt Guevara, and then Tobias Klein was about 2 minutes behind, so he would have had to do a lot of work to get to where I'm at. Or I would have had to have some misfortune of crashing or punctures in the last 20 seconds, so we had to watch out for that too. We managed to keep the group, aside from Ty Magner and Arnold Schmidt, together, despite many attacks, so we kept everyone safe and together. You can see we're all in the group here. Once Artem Schmidt and Ty Magner lapped up, they stayed in the field for a few laps, and then Arnold Schmidt attacked again. You'll see here, I'm putting my hand up to signal that Matt Guevara was actually off the front. Here I tell CJ that, and they make the move, CJ and Nico make the move to actually bring him back, which was super helpful. We were able to keep him in the group and protect our overall lead. Once Artem Smith attacked again, I was on his wheel that time, so I was able to stay in that group, to stay off the front. I think we were off the front for 5 to 10 laps before being dragged back by the group again. So that saved me a little bit of energy and prevented Artem Smith from lapping again. We weren't too concerned of him taking the overall lead because he was about 5 minutes behind coming into the crit, so I would have been lapping the field multiple times. I think it was about a minute and a half per lap of the field. So he would have had to do a lot of work to bring us back. We came through the last few laps, and there were a lot of preems called, and in the confusion, I actually lost track of how many laps we had to go. But we stayed up towards the front, and were able to keep that forward positioning, despite a lead-out train from maybe the Mission Source or one of the North Georgia teams, the red team here. They were keeping it pretty fast, and we were able to stay kind of right behind their lead-out train. Through the last lap, which I had actually been under the impression that we had 2 laps to go, we had an attack from Thomas Gibbons, so we're racing for third. Thomas Gibbons attacks with 2 corners left. I was on his wheel, but I decided not to follow that attack because it was a pretty monstrous effort, and we came through the finish. He had about 20 bike lengths on the rest of the field, so everyone else is sprinting for 4th place. I ended up 7th place, and CJ was right behind me. He ended up 8th place, but that was enough to secure our overall lead for the whole race weekend. We can learn a lot of lessons from this as a team. I think our team tactics were a good plan, but in cycling, a lot of the times your plan doesn't go down the way you think it will. We weren't able to adapt super well to the attacks, and we weren't able to respond as well as we need to go up against some more concerted efforts from teams. Overall, I think we did pretty well getting our first victory this year. It's a good way to start the season, and I think it can open us up to learning a lot throughout the season. I definitely learned that my nutrition strategy in the road race needs to improve. I left all my food at home. I think if I had had the food that I wanted to there, it would have been better. But I ended up having to I ended up having to ask Matt Guevara for a gel, which he was gracious enough to give me. He also gave Brendan Hausler a gel, which may have been his demise in the end, but it was nice for us not to bonk. I got a chew as well from Nico. We lapped him, and I just yanked it out of his pocket. So that was pretty life-saving. I think other than that, I probably would have bonked had I not taken those extra calories in. It was a high kilojoule day, and that road race was very consequential for the rest of the stage race. So a lot of lessons to learn there, but I think it was a pretty fun race weekend, and we had a good time. Thanks for listening to this race recap. Stay tuned.